Salvete viatores, and welcome back to Let's Translate Eutropius's Breviarium Historiae Romanae ab orbe condita. Last time we finished up with Pyrrhus, and now we are going to continue on with just a couple very short chapters in between the big events. Just because I thought, nice short video. It ought to be nice. I'm still looking at a few different sources to compare, but certainly not as many, because these next few chapters, not as many sources actually talk about these events. So, nice, quick, simple. Let's get to it. Gaio Fabio Licinio, Gaio Claudio Canina, consulibus, anno orbis conditae, quadringetesimo sexagesimo primo, legati Alexandrini a Ptolemaic missi, Romam venere, et a Romanis amicitiam quam petierant, obtenuerunt. This word is hard to say for me for some reason. But, first off, Gaio Fabio Licinio, Gaio Claudio Canina consolibus. We've seen this plenty of times before. Ablative of time when, with them all. So you could say, in the consulship of Gaius Fabius Licinius and Gaius Claudius Canina, or it's literally while Gaius Fabius Licinius and Gaius Claudius Canina were consuls. Either way works. So while these two were consuls, anno orbis conditae quadringentesimo sexagesimo primo, another ablative time when, just a little different, because we've seen this kind of thing before, just usually instead of orbis conditae, it is ab orbe condita. So first off, with the ablatives, anno quadringentesimo sexagesimo primo, in the 461st year, orbis conditae. Usually this is ab orbe condita, meaning from the founding of the city, but here it is in the, because usually it's the number of the year, like it would be 461 years from the founding of the city. Here it's in the 461st year, conditae, of the founding, because it's genitive, orbis, of the city. So in the 461st year of the founding of the city, rather than 461 years from the founding of the city. It's the same thing, just worded differently. So, while Gaius Fabius Licinius and Gaius Claudius Canina were consuls in the 461st year of the founding of the city, legati Alexandrini a Ptolemaic missi. Ambassadors, we've seen legati plenty in the previous few chapters. So ambassadors, Alexandrini. I'm pretty sure this is just an adjective, because if it was, so this is referring to Alexandria, of course, in Egypt. So, and if it was ambassadors of Alexandria, I think it would have been Alexandriae. But here it's Alexandrini, which sounds to me as adjective for people of Alexandria. So Alexandrian ambassadors, missi, were sent, perfect passive participle, as we've seen exactly this before too in the previous few chapters. From mittere, were sent, a Ptolemaic, by Ptolemy, who was the current pharaoh of Egypt of the Ptolemaic dynasty, founded by Ptolemy I, one of the generals of Alexander the Great. In fact, I mentioned him in chapter 11, because Pyrrhus had served under Ptolemy for a little bit. Well, he didn't really serve under him. He was kind of a hostage. He lived with Ptolemy for a while. But this is not Ptolemy I. At this point, this is Ptolemy II, but we'll get into that in just a second. Also, you may notice I pronounced the P in Ptolemy here. I don't know, because I haven't looked into this much, but I think Latin would pronounce the P in Ptolemy. I know we don't, because PT, pt, That's really weird for English. But with this being a loan word from Greek, I think Latin would keep the pronunciation as Ptolemy. Well, Ptolemaios, technically. Just, of course, Latinizing it with the AE rather than an alpha iota. So, with Latin, I'm going to be pronouncing it Ptolemaio. If you want to say Ptolemaio, that's fine too. So ambassadors, Alexandrian ambassadors, were sent by Ptolemy. Romam venere. Et... first this. Because venere is weird. It comes from venire, of course. But you may notice this is not the infinitive. It looks like it could be an infinitive, but it is not. That's because this is just a weird, rare form of the third person plural perfect active indicative. So just, they came, or arrived. It's definitely easy to get tricked up on that, especially if you haven't memorized the infinitive for venio. Or maybe you might be tricked into thinking this is a different word. But no. Third person plural, perfect active indicative from venio. So, they arrived, or they came, Romam, to Rome. Or they arrived at Rome. Whatever works for whatever definition you're using. And in fact, that changes how I would translate Missy. So, Alexandrian ambassadors sent by Ptolemy, kind of like a relative clause, but without the relative pronoun. Because you could also put it, Alexandrian ambassadors who were sent by Ptolemy arrived at Rome. But since there's no relative pronoun, it still works in English exactly how it is here. Alexandrian ambassadors sent by Ptolemy arrived at Rome. It's still just technically describing the ambassadors, right? So, in the consul, or while Gaius Fabius Licinius and Gaius Claudius Canina were consuls, in the 461st year of the founding of the city, Alexandrian ambassadors sent by Ptolemy arrived at Rome. And a Romanis amicitiam, quam, now we actually have a relative clause, petierant obtenuerunt. So, and, let's go to the verb, because it's just using legati still as the subject. Obtenuerunt. We've seen this in the past few chapters. They obtained amicitiam, friendship, or you could also say an alliance, a Romanis, from the Romans. Quam, which, and since this is accusative, well, since it's feminine, the relative pronoun is feminine here, it's referring back to amicitiam, the friendship or alliance. So the alliance which petierant, from peto petere, as we also have seen in the past few chapters. So many of these are just repeat words. I don't think there are very few new words here. But peto, to beg or to ask. So, which they had asked for. Well, not they had asked for, because this is just perfect, not pluperfect. So, which they asked for. Okay, so I wanted to double check that, and I'm wrong. It actually is the pluperfect. The perfect would be petierunt. But according to the Project Gutenberg translation notes, sometimes you might just shorten a word. And here, this is a slightly shortened version of petierunt, which is the pluperfect form of peto. Third person plural, pluperfect active indicative. So this actually is which they had asked for, which I guess does sound better in English. It sounds more natural in English. So I guess that's how it is in Latin too. Okay, cool. Just seeing a couple weird forms of verbs here. First venere instead of venerunt, and now petierant instead of peteverant. Okay. In fact, let me check obtenuerunt as well. Nah, obtenuerunt is just the regular third person plural perfect active indicative from obteneo. So that's fine. But that is the whole chapter. So I wanted to talk about a couple different things here. So first off, traditional date of the founding of Rome, 753 BCE. And if this is the 461st year of the founding of the city, then this would put it at 292 BCE. But supposedly this alliance with Ptolemy happened in the 270s? I don't know. I guess Eutropius' chronology is just a bit wonky. Because I think this is supposed to have happened around 272, or the 480th year of the founding of the city. So that's a bit odd. But then I want to talk about Ptolemy. Ptolemaios. This is Ptolemy II, the son of the first Ptolemy. Ptolemy I is known as Ptolemy I Soter, the savior. Ptolemy II also has an epithet. He is called Philadelphos. Philadelphos means sibling lover, or sibling loving. Take 3 guesses as to why he's called that. But we also have a few differences in exactly what happened here. So Eutropius says that ambassadors from Ptolemy came to Rome. Dionysius says that the Romans sent ambassadors to Ptolemy instead. The Periochae only say that an alliance was formed, so nothing there for any kind of detail. Zonaras actually kind of combines Dionysius and Eutropius. Zonaras says that first ambassadors were sent by Ptolemy to Rome, and then after that, Roman ambassadors went to Ptolemy. So, an interesting combination there. I don't know really the sources of Zonaras. Well, of course I do. He's based on Cassius Dio for the most part, so maybe that is how it was in Cassius Dio as well. We just don't have the original text from Cassius Dio, so I don't know. But it would make sense that ambassadors would trade back and forth if they were making this friendship and alliance. Also, this has nothing to do with this chapter of Eutropius or anything, really, but in the same section of the Periochae as the alliance with Ptolemy, there was a weird detail I did not expect, and I just wanted to talk about it for a second. So, the next sentence after the alliance with Ptolemy, it says that a Vestal virgin was buried alive, which is usually what happens when a Vestal virgin becomes not a virgin. It was very forbidden and taboo. So that happens, buried alive, to make sure it doesn't happen again. But the Periochae specifically say that she was guilty of incest, which just caught me off guard and is kind of funny, because again, Ptolemy is known as Philadelphos, the sibling lover. I don't think those two things actually have anything to do with each other, but it is a funny coincidence. And again, no relation to anything else here, or for the next few chapters, or anything else. I just wanted to put it out there, because when I read it, it just caught me completely off guard. But anyway, let's move on to the Latin reading and English reading.
Gaio Fabio Licinio Gaio Claudio Canina consulibus, anno orbis conditae, quadrincentesimo sexagesimo primo,
legati Alexandrini a Ptolemaio missi Romam venere, et a Romani samecitiam quam peterant obtenuerunt.
While Gaius Fabius Licinius and Gaius Claudius Canina were consuls, in the 461st year of the founding of the city, Alexandrian ambassadors sent by Ptolemy arrived at Rome, and they obtained a friendship from the Romans, which they had asked for.
Thank you for making it to the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed a little short and sweet episode this time. Next time will be a little longer because I'm combining the next 2 chapters, because they're very similar and cover similar events. But they will be a bit more meat to them, as there are new sources to look at. So, I hope you enjoy that. Valete, viatores.